South Sudan back to war, says Vice President Riek Machar's spokesman. South Sudan is back to war, a spokesman for the vice president has told the BBC, as rival factions clash and hundreds have been reported killed. Forces loyal to Vice President Riek Machar say government troops attacked their positions in the capital, Juba. But Information Minister Michael Makuei said the situation is normal and it is under full control. The UN mission said its buildings had suffered damage, and that hundreds had sought shelter in its compounds. Cole William Gategith, Mr. Machar's military spokesman, told the BBC President Salva Kiir isn't serious about a peace agreement. He said hundreds of Mr. Machar's troops had died on Sunday, and that troops loyal to Mr. Machar were advancing on Juba from different directions. Mr. Luth said government troops responded when Mr. Machar's forces attacked a checkpoint, adding that those forces had now been scattered. The clashes followed days of fighting in the world's newest country between supporters of Mr. Kiir and Mr. Machar. At least 150 people were killed in fighting on Friday, before calm was restored on Saturday. Local radio station Radio Tamazu reported on Sunday that the death toll from those clashes may be as high as 271. The violence has raised fears of renewed instability, with a 2015 peace deal failing to quell unrest. Heavy gunfire was reported on Sunday near a military barracks occupied by troops loyal to Mr. Machar. Friday's exchanges were apparently sparked by a shootout between Mr. Kiir's and Mr. Machar's bodyguards. The two men met at the presidential palace on Friday, and issued a call for calm. How did we get here? July 2011 – South Sudan becomes an independent country, after more than 20 years of guerrilla warfare, which claimed the lives of at least 1.5 million people and displaced more than 4 million. December 2013 – Civil war breaks out after President Salva Kiir sacks the cabinet and accuses Vice President Riek Machar of planning a coup. The war is fought broadly between the country's biggest ethnic groups, the Dinka, led by Mr. Kiir, and the Nuer, under Mr. Machar. More than 2.2 million people are displaced by the fighting. Famine puts the lives of thousands at risk. Tens of thousands of people are reported killed, and Mr. Machar flees the country. August 2015 – President Kiir signs a peace deal with rebels after a threat of sanctions from the UN. April 2016 – Mr. Machar returns to South Sudan to take up his job as first vice president in a new unity government led by President Kiir. The move marks the end of the war and the return of peace and stability to South Sudan, Mr. Kiir says. Huge distrust. Mary Harper, BBC World Service Africa editor. The situation in South Sudan has echoes of the days before the civil war began, in December 2013, when skirmishes between troops loyal to Mr. Kiir and Mr. Machar escalated into a national bloodbath, killing tens of thousands and displacing 2 million. As artillery fire rings out in the capital Juba and a helicopter gunship buzzes overhead, desperate work is underway to try to calm the situation and to prevent the clashes from spreading. But huge distrust remains between Mr. Kiir and Mr. Machar and between their forces. The leaders may even be struggling to control their own troops. A number of peace deals have been signed. So far, none has led to lasting stability. One foreign worker in the Gudel district, on the outskirts of the city, told the BBC he was waiting to be evacuated from the area. He said shooting restarted at 8 o'clock local time, 5 o'clock GMT, on Sunday, and had been sporadic throughout the day. The United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, said in a statement that hundreds of people had been forced to flee and seek protection in the organization's properties. Both its compounds in Juba had suffered damage, UNMISS said. It also urged the leadership at the highest level in South Sudan to immediately restrain their forces, to engage in dialogue to find a political solution to this crisis, and to allow access to the United Nations to be able to patrol in order to reassure the civilian population. The U.S. Embassy in Juba said that the situation in the capital had significantly deteriorated, and urged people not to leave their homes. South Sudan marked its 5th anniversary of independence from neighboring Sudan on Saturday in lockdown. The country is so short of money that no official anniversary events were planned.